House of Dragon's over, so it's Penguin's time to shine. You love Batman, you love Penguin?
I love Batman. I love anything Batman. I'm a Batman fan. I'm not saying I'm a Batman expert, but I've been a Batman fan forever. I can't remember not knowing Batman existed. If someone was to ask what's the best way to get into Batman, I would say watch the animated series, and that's probably the best foundation of like everything this guy's about, all the characters.
It's like, you hammer out all the villains as well.
Yeah.
So you get introduced to everyone. But this one isn't about the Batman, this one is about Penguin. My first annoyance, this isn't about Oswald Cobblepot either. This is about Oz Cobb.
Oswald Cobb. They've at least said Oswald Cobb.
They say Oswald occasionally.
But in the Falcone's son says, the great Oswald Cobb.
Yeah.
So, like, okay, at least it's not Oz Cobb.
I don't know. I feel like you need the whole Cobblepot too. It's not cooler. It's like, it feels mid-2000s, like, oh, we need to make this word cooler for a YA audience.
What did you expect? Yellow spandex?
Exactly.
Like, it feels very much like that.
Yeah. And it's like, his name is not the problem with the character.
I suppose we'll briefly just introduce it. This is
the story of a girl.
The Penguin, and it's a sort of like sequel to the Batman film, and this is a part of Matt Reeves' Batman verse. Like, the thing with Batman, even though we're a glutton, us Batman fans, we've had all the best films, all the best books.
Yeah.
But as much as I love the Nolan, well, I love 2/3 of the Nolan trilogy, he's definitely, it was under Nolan's vision. It came through Nolan's vision. And Matt Reeves has done something similar. Like, I watched Seven, and I read The Dark Knight Returns and Batman Year One, and here we go. And there's a lot more to Batman than just neo-noir and Frank Miller books, back when Frank Miller was properly medicated.
It means that it looks like the movie to most of the degree. Like, very burnt orange is mainly what they're grabbing onto, and then rainy.
I really like the Batman that came out 2 years ago. It's probably my favourite opening hour to a Batman film. I think it gets a little bit lost towards the end, but I think the initial 20-30 minutes when I was in the cinema, I was like, this is it. Like, I was incredibly thrilled, like, as a Batman fan.
Especially because they called the Dark Knight trilogy gritty. So it's like, what do you then call the Batman? It's like scrappy as hell.
Well, that's it. It's like, it's when in 1989 we had a down and dirty Batman, and if you watch the Keaton Batman film, it feels a little bit kooky by today's standards.
He's not even in it. Keaton's barely in his own movie.
Well, who cares about that? Like Tim Burton. I like Batman Forever. It's probably my favourite of those initial four.
Because he's in it.
At least it's about Batman.
Yeah.
The Dark Knight. These are gritty, real, as dark and gritty as Batman can get. And then this film makes them seem fairly light and fun by comparison.
And I do prefer the Dark Knight's grittiness. As in, I prefer the still very comic booky, like the fact the Joker looks like the Joker, wears all the makeup, all the costume. Whereas Oz Cobb over here is not even in a tuxedo for most of it.
Batman has probably one of the best rogues gallery of villains.
100%. The most recognizable.
Yeah, as much as we like Spider-Man, all of his villains, because of Stanley's preference, are just sort of Jekyll and Hyde.
And animals.
Yeah, a scientist trying to do something cool, it ends up going bad and he turns evil, which is a lot of Spider-Man villains. With Batman, who's down in Hades, basically.
I think my favorite rogues gallery of Batman, though, has to be the subscribe button. You should beat it up like Batman would down below.
Yeah, he's down there with Condiment King and Polka Dot Man.
Calendar Man.
Subscribe, Batman. Sorry. Penguin, because he's well known enough, but he's not like you better not mess with him like a Joker or something.
Yeah.
That he's kind of went through a lot of reinvention. So originally he was like, in the Batman animated series, he's quite erudite and very posh. And then obviously in the 60s show, he's like, rah, 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 rah.
Yeah. And then you get DeVito.
DeVito, who obviously went for the Tim Burton lens of he's actually a penguin man who eats fish and bites people's noses. He was abandoned by his
family because we hate mum and dads.
It's so Tim Burton. In the Arkham series, where they had him be like a Cockney geezer, where he has a bottle cap. And obviously he's voiced by famous Cockney, Nolan North. And okay, it's amazing.
At least it's not Chris Pratt, all right? That's all I can say.
I guess 10 years ago, funny enough, it's been 10 years since Gotham came out.
I don't think I'll ever like a penguin as much as the Gotham Penguin.
Well, he was kind of the highlight
he's the
of
lead
that show,
character.
yeah. And then recently, with the new Batman animated series, Penguin is probably for the first time a woman.
just because I haven't watched it.
It actually was a pretty good episode. Has two sons and doesn't really give a shit about them. Actually ends up murdering one of them.
Yeah.
Point is that it's okay to have various versions. And this Penguin, even though I've mentioned a few inspirations for this world, like Batman Year One, a big inspiration for this world is Batman Earth One, which is about as grounded as Batman can be. And some of those ideas have travelled into this version. And this version is more of a Tony Soprano.
Very much so. Which I liked the episode overall, but I do have a few things that annoyed me.
Interesting.
My main one being, since we're talking about all the Batman worlds, why is this a Batman world? Like, why is this not just The Sopranos 2? Like, what makes this Batman? Why do I need this to be in a Batman world? Why does his name need to be the Penguin?
Because we wouldn't...
It's name recognition.
Yeah, because the reality
which is unfortunate. That's why I do like the Nolan verse. In real life, you don't have a man walking around as a clown. That just wouldn't fly. So there's some magical comic book element to it. Whereas with this, there's no comic book element as far as I can tell.
Well, he's called the Penguin because he looks vaguely like a penguin. Like
yes.
It's a bullying thing. He waddles along. He's got a pointy nose. Why does there have to be? And that's definitely something.
It's a niggle. It's nothing major. It's just like, and also it's the pilot. They could totally do something. They could make it very, very Gotham later on.
It's why I'm happy that they're doing what they're doing. The whole the Matt Reeves grounded, gritty version is here, and then we're going to get more of a comic booky.
Yes, 100%. That's the good thing about the DC. I can get my cake and eat it too. Like, I can decide this isn't for me, and I don't have to wait 20 years for another.
Well, that's the whole point of comics, right? You didn't like this one, there's a new one next week, you know?
Yeah,
it's definitely something, because as a Batman fan...
You want to see some Batman in your Batman.
Yeah, and we've all got preferences with how we want to see him. And so, and how the world is represented. I think this is probably my favourite visual Gotham. I like that they've kind of... I like that they've... Because Gotham can come in all shapes and sizes.
There's some gothicness, but it's just Chicago.
Well, that's what I like that they tried to go for. So you kind of get the Batman animated series where it's like the Art Deco kind of movement plays its part with that. But then also I quite like what Arkham Asylum went for, that like British architecture, which I really
enjoy that.
And then with the Batman universe, they had that. You had like the older parts of Gotham being more gothic. They filmed in Newcastle, they filmed in Manchester, and in the Batgirl film they filmed pretty much all in Glasgow. So they wanted that, which annoys me because I would have liked to have seen.
I'm so upset we didn't get to see that. Even if it was bad,
just throw it up there.
Yeah, I wanted it.
It's wild. And it was designed for the streaming service.
It wouldn't have done worse than anything else they put out.
No, exactly. I mean, yeah, they let Flash and Aquaman be out and they didn't do anything. But
yes, for me, it's Chicago with the odd angel statue. And I want more.
Which you probably will.
Source. That's it. Again, it's the pilot. They might give me more because the Batman film.
My problem with the groundedness of this world is it makes you question things they don't want you to question. Like, okay, so why is this guy even dressed up like a bat anymore?
Yeah.
Why is this guy being called the Penguin?
And which is probably why they're not bringing Batman into this.
Yeah.
At all, as far as we can tell. I wouldn't be shocked if we get a news story or whatever.
Yeah, so the setup is that after the seawalls collapsed from the Riddler's terrorist attack, I asked my maritime lawyer brother-in-law, because I watched it with him and he was like, seems a bit weird that they build a major city that could flood if the wall collapsed.
Venice.
Like why would they build it beneath sea level was his question. Maybe there is examples in America. From the top of his head, couldn't quite recall examples of people building New York equivalent cities under sea level.
Yeah.
But
unless the city's old enough and the sea rose because of global warming.
Whatever. I'll go with it. But it turns out it's flooded the poor areas.
Was that the plan? I can't remember. Because I remember he wanted to flood the city for sure to like cleanse it, but I couldn't remember if it was of poor people or whether he wanted the whole city gone.
I really don't like the last 20, 30 minutes of that. It felt like a studio mandated, well, we've got to have a big fight.
Yeah.
And where the film feels like it naturally ends when Falcone gets arrested. And then you're like, oh yeah, the Riddler's still in this. So we got somewhat of a power vacuum amongst the crime families now that Carmine Falcone has been killed. It's now been assumed that his son, whatever the fuck his son was called, Antonio will now take over and become the new Don of the crime family. And the Penguin will just assume his role as being the loyal soldier. And that's where we begin. And we open on, I think it was probably just directly the shot from the end of the Batman with Penguin just looking out at the Amber City going, I could have all of this.
Yep.
And so this is the first chapter, picking up a few days after the end of the Batman.
It's very pilot episode setting up for a anti-hero. Would you even call him an anti-hero?
He's a villain.
But like, he's our protagonist. So
Yeah, he's our...
because anti-heroes become so muddled because people call
yeah.
Batman an anti-hero, and it's like, not really. He just puts people in hospital, but so does Spidey.
He's the protagonist of this story, but
Yes.
he's himself a villain.
Yes.
Like the antagonist is How I Met Your Mother.
But we haven't seen him do anything evil.
He shot someone in the first 10 minutes.
But because they were a bigger bad guy. That's what I mean by it's very much
he
like...
shot them because they laughed at him.
Yes, but then 5 minutes later they show him save the cat by not shooting a poor innocent little boy with a stutter.
Well,
That's what I mean. They're just setting him up to be the good guy despite the world he's in.
yeah, he's a product of his world. The world they've set up is that Gotham is a cesspool of corruption.
Yes.
That the difference between a politician and a gangster is just a job title.
Well, before he takes the shot, he does a little monologue. This is a very monologue heavy, like, look, we have Colin Farrell. He's gonna do things.
Who didn't put on weight this time. He put on a bit of weight for the film.
But it's
But
mostly
this,
a
they've
suit.
just fat suited him.
Yeah, it looks fantastic for what it is, though.
Yeah.
Like, if you didn't know this was Colin Farrell, you wouldn't know. But it's very monologue heavy. But before he takes the shot, he does the monologue where when he was a young warthog, there was a nice gangster. And he's like, well, I'm going to be a gangster, but I'm going to be a nice gangster like that guy, where I care about the people.
Yeah, like an honourable thing where, and you
Yeah.
see stuff like that in The Sopranos, you got your Goodfellas. It's kind of taking inspirations from that.
Yeah, heavily.
When one of them died, they had like a proper funeral. You'd have all these gangsters going, back in them days, people didn't used to...
Yeah, we didn't just shoot each other. There was law.
This whole, like, they looked after the people, like all
Yeah.
nice
He wants
stories
that. And he talks about the Riddler like he's the scum of the earth. Like, he hates the Riddler for what he did to the people.
Yeah, like
He went about it the wrong way.
Yeah, there seems to be the angle of, look, it's a shit heap, but I'm going to be on top of the shit heap.
Yes.
Well, we're all in the shit. I might as well be in
I'm
charge.
going to help those less fortunate, but I am going to be the
Did
king.
you really get that vibe?
I think so, yeah. Well, his whole story was about that everyone knows his name.
Yeah, but he wants the respect, I think, is important to him.
I guess that's...
Because then he's
yeah.
laughed at, and then he shoots the guy, which I thought was such a... Because I think in the promotional materials, maybe, but even in the show, they set this guy up as being
I thought he was going to be
key
in it
player,
for longer.
and then he gets
Yeah.
killed because he basically laughs at him and
Yeah.
calls him...
He says his dream of getting the respect or being the nice
just
gangster.
stupid, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
And so he kills him for it, and then his next big thing is he's going to have to get rid of this body now because he's indulged himself, and shows that this guy obviously is villainous, so that he will kill someone for doing something as petty as laughing at them.
Yeah, but they play it a lot like Gotham did. Like, yeah, he's very impulsive. So he does take this shot, and then he just sits there for a second, then he's like,
Fuck.
Yeah,
I gave in to myself a bit.
The show does a really interesting thing in regards to that, where basically they want us to underestimate him too.
Yeah.
So basically everyone in his world underestimates him, which is why he's actually cleverer than them.
There's a bit of a Tyrion Lannister vibe.
But a little bit more off-screen cunning because they want to trick us. Whereas Tyrion, we were like, we knew Tyrion was always one step ahead. They don't want us to know that the Penguin is.
When they pitched Game of Thrones, they said it's the Sopranos in Middle-earth, was how it was pitched.
Fair play. How many products do you think have gotten made because someone walked in and said, Sopranos, but Gotham? Everyone's like, shit.
I think James Cameron walked in and had a painting of the Titanic.
Sopranos and Pandora?
He went Romeo and Juliet on that.
Yep.
And they went, yeah, great, here you go.
That's how most things get made, honestly,
Yeah.
I swear. It's simple.
Simple. With this, though, I'd say it did scratch that kind of Game of Thrones of people...
Plotting
and politicking.
Well, that's immediately, I can tell the difference between the way me and Marco are able to talk about Lord of the Rings, when no one has ulterior motives. Everyone is just...
You should make these rings for me.
Yeah, everything is text. Whereas with this, one episode in, we're able to say like, oh, Penguin's doing this, but wanting this. Sofia Falcone, her whole scene when she's just like staring people down.
There's 2 or 3 things going on in there. Yeah.
And the middle of her lunch with him, after he says, I don't know where your brother is. He's probably just on a bender. He's like, then how do you know about the secret that we knew about?
I did love that scene because there's a whole unspoken conversation going on in that scene of like, I know you've probably killed my brother.
I already know. I've caught you in the lie. You don't know yet. I'm going to see how you react.
Exactly. Then he goes, oh, this is... Oh, we're jumping ahead, but that scene was great.
I mean, not much happens in the meantime. Basically, it's he defends the poor innocent kid.
Well, he takes sympathy on someone. Obviously, it's not that insane. He was obviously picked on for
They
being
have a disability as well.
Sure, it's pretty okay. But you go with
That's
it.
what I mean. It's a little bit paint by numbers, but it's the pilot.
Yeah.
So they need to
You've
do
got to
this.
establish the vibes of this character, and then he does a fairly Soprano thing. I'm going to go visit me ma.
I get it's the Sopranos thing, but to me, again, that was another notch in the, we need you to like this character. He's the product of his mum. His mum calls him a pussy.
Yeah.
Like, that's why he is the way he is.
And we assume his brother's dead or something.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if he pops up as either Harvey Dent or some shit.
Harvey Bullock, maybe, the corrupt cop.
Yep.
He's playing around, like, he pays off a lady of the night for an alibi that he was there all along. I forgot, who did he send the letter, let's be pals to? I just saw in there.
Oh, to a politician that is meant to be squeaky clean.
That's it, because the first thing he does is he goes to Carmine's, like, snooker room and gets all the blackmail stuff.
To his, in the Iceberg Lounge.
Yeah, and his, and that's where he sees even footage of I think, like, the Falcone, like, manager when he goes and has the meeting with the Falcone family.
Yes.
That Doug Stamper from House of Cards. I know the actor's been in other things, but it feels like he plays the same kind of guy.
I was going to say, that actor.
That actor. Before that, he goes to his operation, and then because of the floods, it's kind of took out a lot of the supply.
Yes.
It's 30%. He kind of has that sort of, turns out he's been running a bit of a Breaking Bad operation.
But he's a good boss. Like, everyone seems to respect him there. It's just on a small scale.
It seems that basically, as it's explained, is that he's one or two steps away from just the family. He's
just because they don't take him seriously.
Yeah,
though.
he's a top level, like, enforced, but he's as high as he needs to go, is how they say. And that everyone kind of knows, it's almost an open secret that this guy aspires for greater things.
Yeah. But it also seems like he was fine with where he was.
Yeah, he was
like,
they let him think he ran the Iceberg Lounge.
But now that there's an opening, he's like, oh, maybe I do want that.
Exactly. And it's funny because when you watch the original Batman, the Batman film, there's not much of him in that. Obviously, he's a villain, but he's just doing his drug operation stuff.
Yeah, he's something for Batman to
and
foil.
they think he's a grander, like he's the Rat or something. And he has probably my least favourite part where he says their Spanish is bad. I hate that. Remember, it's like El Rada on Lada. He goes, it's like the worst Spanish I ever heard. Come on, world's greatest detectives.
There's a lot of moida in this. There's
a lot of moida.
It's annoying my wife. She's like, I don't know how much of the accents I can
because
take.
Colin Farrell is obviously Irish, but he's doing Italian, right?
Yes.
Like a Jersey boy.
Well, yeah, he's doing a very heavily Italian
Instead of
American.
it being like a Boston Irishy kind of gangster. But yeah, obviously Colin Farrell does a great job and he disappears in the role. If you didn't know it was him, you wouldn't think.
Oh, 100%.
So yeah, and then he gets called to the family and they basically tell him, we're shutting it down.
We get 48 hours.
And you'll do as you're told. Yeah. We'll find something out for you.
Which is good because we get a ticking clock. But he also learnt from Antonio, who that might not be his name.
Carmine's son.
Yeah, we learned from Carmine's son that there's a shipment of new state-of-the-art
coming
drugs.
in. Yeah.
So that's his payday. So, like, we have something to look forward to, which is interesting. And we at least know what's happening.
Yeah, because his initial plan is to go, hey, Oz, to Carmine's son, if you need me, I'll get in there. And then he goes, fuck off, Oz. She has returned from Arkham Asylum. We don't know why she was exactly in there, do we?
She's crazy. Yeah. They call her the hangman, so you can assume she hung some men.
Yeah.
She is the hangman in the comics and stuff too. They don't beat around the bush too much, which is good. Like, she doesn't say, I'm back from Arkham. Like, it's not super exposition-y. Very briefly state it so that people know, everyone else can kind of figure it out. Because they're not directing this towards people that like Batman per se. They're going for a broad show.
Well, that's it. It's like I'm aware that some of my criticisms of the Batman can sometimes be because I've brought in a wealth of information.
Yeah. My wife said the one thing that she liked was they didn't go too exposition heavy. They weren't like, comic book, because she'd be like,
It's why I may go, it's weird that the Riddler is immediately put in Arkham Asylum the night he's captured and not just held up in the police station for an hour or two, where Arkham Asylum's going to be like, you're an admitted patient. But since they haven't explained exactly how Arkham works, you can just go, okay, it's just there holding
but
place.
It does give them the avenue for name dropping. They do a couple of drops. Like, we get Arkham, we get that she's the hangman. We also get Gotham Knights written on his phone.
But that's just the football team, right? The Gotham Knights.
Ish, maybe. Yeah, it could have just been like, these are the Gotham Knights tickets on this day.
That's what I assumed it was.
But it's also just, it's a little Easter egg.
Yeah,
like, if
sure.
you're like,
There's no mention of Wayne, is there? We see Mayor Real. From when
we get a whole
her
newsreel,
speech at
but
the end of
I wouldn't be
Batman.
shocked if at some point they're like, the Wayne Foundation is paying money towards fixing up the slums.
I know we're waffling on,
We are a little bit because it's a very meandery episode.
but it's great.
In a good way, because they do need to set up the world, the characters.
Exactly.
And you can't do that in a 20-minute or 30-minute Marvel show. You need an hour and 6 minutes.
And isn't it nice to have a show? It's called The Penguin, and it's about one guy.
It's
watching
more focused than I
You're watching
thought.
Ring of Power, and you're dealing with 8 characters or 8 stories, and has the dragon. I mean, obviously, you know, when they're great, they're great. When they're bad. But it's nice that to have a high quality show like of this, and then just have it be solely about one person.
It could change because it's the pilot.
It could expand,
but there's no scene that he is not the focus of.
Exactly.
But he walks into the room. That's why we're showing the room.
And they do a lot of like cute payoffs. He mentions I like the characterization that he wants to be. It's like even down to the air freshener in his car. He points out because it's a what's it called?
Chekhov's gun.
A Chekhov's gun situation. Could use it to stab a guy in the eye. But it shows that his character is all about the
little things, luxury.
And
his car stands out.
Yeah.
And is the worst car for a gangster to have, but it makes him feel like a luxury. It just shows how lizard brain I really am, that he stabs him with the air freshener, and I'm like, that's the thing he talked about earlier.
Yeah, it always makes me go,
that's enough for me to be happy.
Every time.
Isn't it funny that high school filmmaking makes me go, haha?
I sometimes think it's like a trick to make you go, oh, what great writing.
Yes. Well, it's just not even used anymore.
It just makes it all feel connected and complete in a way. The little techniques to make it feel like, oh, it all had a reason and a purpose.
I mentioned earlier that they want us to underestimate him, so they put him in a situation later on where he's getting tortured because Sophia now knows that he killed the brother, or thinks. So she's torturing him, but then a car crashes through her complex, and in the boot of the car is her dead brother with the finger removed, because that's where the ring was that the dad used to wear, that was from
Moretti. The other main gangster who Carmine basically sold out because he was running the drug operation, and then Carmine ratted him and then took over. And the Penguin obviously goes to prison purely to give him the ring.
Yes, and at that point we think, oh, you're trying to get into his favor.
Nice.
But that's going to screw you over, because then they'll know that you killed him. Even me, I was like, that's stupid. I'm like, your hubris will be your downfall. But no, he's one step ahead of me, baby. Once the car crashes through, the ring is gone off the finger, and it says, payback. Now they think that Maroni did it.
Yeah.
And Salvatore is played by, or Salvatore, I don't know.
Salvatore
He's played
Maroni.
by Mr. Krabs, which is always fun.
Yeah, he's a great actor and always looks awesome. I think I was surprised at just how involved and invested I was. Like, even in the car chase, I liked the little thing that he just hid in the boot.
Again, he's one step ahead, baby.
Yeah, and he probably learned from the last car chase he had that he probably isn't the best at running away.
When it's a hotted up Batmobile.
The hiding in the boot and then coming out.
Which is also a little self-deprecating. Like, he knows that he can put himself in lesser positions so he can come out on top. He'll play dead. He'll play possum so that he can win. Whereas, like, you wouldn't see Mr. Krabs, like the all-powerful Salvatore Maroni, getting in the boot of a car to hide from some thugs.
It. And yeah, it does remind me of the Tyrion, wear it like armor, people, all that stuff. That he definitely probably leans into that he comes across so. Oh, what's he going to do? It's Oz, where actually he's got a brain on him. And probably the whole fact that he has such a typical rough accent, like speaking from someone with a bit of a daft Brummy accent, people can assume you're a bit of a slow fool because of it. I like that I don't know where we're going. But
you have ideas. There's the drug shipment. Sophia's gunning for him.
Yeah, it's still that unsteadiness that they're waiting for him. And he's got the blackmail stuff on the bald guy.
Yep, that'll come back.
So there's all, and
they've planted seeds. They can do stuff.
Yeah, I'm here going, so because the Batman, apparently the script is finished and we're going to be filming next year the Batman 2.
Okay.
At least that's the last report from Batman.
Is this
Matt
getting
Reeves.
a season 2 or is this a one and done?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Is this going to be a season 1? The Penguin is. Are we going to have? Is he going to be somewhat in control within the next 7 episodes, and then he continues into the Batman, or maybe
might
not,
pop up in the movie,
or maybe he's not there.
Done this, then done that. It'll be interesting. But that's the thing again about bring up Rings of Power. you know exactly where Rings of Power is going, not just because it's a prequel, but because everyone only has one motive, and like they're about to do a massive 2-episode battle. What the outcome of that? Like, oh, he's still got to make the 9 rings in that time frame. Whereas with this, it's like there's so many options that they can do because of character interplay. So back to Oz Cobb, that's my main criticism, which is, again, they're so stupid little things. It's just like, I want more comic booky Batman to warrant the fact that this isn't just called Maroni. Like, I need something in there. And then I need them to stop calling him Oz Cobb, which they won't do.
I think you can build up to it. Like, you don't need a fantastical...
Oh, one thing. How his guys get attacked in the street.
Right.
Did they say they knew who it was, or did they say we didn't even see him coming? Because if they didn't see him coming, it could have been Batman. They're saying it's like other crime guys.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if they say I'd have to rewatch it properly. But if they didn't see it coming, I'm wondering if it's a Batman. Like... We were doing something, we all got fucked up. That's what I mean. I just want a little something.
It's incredibly well acted. It's incredibly well written. It's got me interested in a show about the Penguin, particularly this version of the Penguin, who we didn't really get to know within 1 hour. I mean, and it didn't even do things that they maybe will do eventually, where we weren't flashing back or... stuff that a lesser show might have done already, flashing back to him as a kid or something like.
Yes,
they might do it down the line.
It's still
maybe.
Very pilot episode, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a little paint by numbers, but also they're setting up an entire new world, new characters, so I'm okay with it. It's something familiar, so it'll get people in, and I just hope we grow. I hope we do more.
Obviously, this is a show it's in the shadow of Batman. And even though we've been told Batman won't be in it, and while I hope that there isn't, because I don't want them to do the Marvel things, like I want us to move away from this stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying you need to explain, because this is a very minor problem, but what is Batman up to right now?
Unless they keep it so small scale that Batman wouldn't even know about it. But our Batman has been showed as so street level. That's why I'm wondering whether he's taken down Penguin's boys without him realizing.
Maybe. Who knows?
Like, maybe that'll be the thing. Like, they keep trying to do stuff, but they're like, we don't know what's happening. Someone keeps fucking up our guys.
Yeah, because we leave the Batman film with Bruce realizing that he can't just be the shadow in the night. He has to be an inspirational figure, which
yes,
I have my opinions on.
Fear is cooler.
Yeah, it is. But the symbol, I need to be a hero, all that stuff. But I think you could explain that, hey, it's all flooded, which kind of has a bit of they don't really do it, but a bit of no man's land, which is what Dark Knight Rises took. Where in the No Man's Land's arc, there's loads of earthquakes, and the government issues Gotham as a federal no man's land.
So it's basically Arkham City, where everything
just
Arkham
goes City,
crazy.
yeah, and it becomes very like...
It's crime city.
Bane runs this area, people run different, and Batman basically has to operate like another sort of crime, a lord of an area, and he has to expand his operations.
Yeah.
And the whole Bat family's involved, and
that's a video game, and if not, it should be.
Yes.
That should be Shadow of Mordor, where you're expanding your not crime.
And the great thing is the Joker is not seen of until the very, very end.
Oh.
Yes, there's that element of maybe why things are a little bit loosey-goose at the moment, because the flooding is kind of, all the police and stuff. So maybe you can go that the Batman's just working around. But since this is a young Batman, it's year 2 for him. I really like that they went with the idea that just because he's put the suit on doesn't mean he's made an impact. And I did like that in the Batman film, where he's probably over sneaking up on people. Now he's just walking out of the shadows. He's knocking on the door to the club. And I got the sense in that film that maybe a year ago he would have been more into this Batman thing and would have maybe been stealthing his way in and infiltrating the Penguin. But now he's like, fuck it, the straightest line is the most obvious one. And he's given up, and he's more doing it just for him to feel like, being up on some random happy snappers at a train station is like a warm-up. He gets to feel good about himself. Where
hey, everyone has a slow night.
In the Nolan version, which I'm fine with, he takes out Falcone on his first night on the job. He's and in Batman Year 1, it's like a year he attacks all the organised crime, but then the crazy.
He kind of had to be, because he was trained as a god assassin.
And they do that with the Nolan trilogy, where he takes out all the crime bosses by the end of the Dark Knight. They're done.
Yeah.
And then the Joker, if Eve hadn't died, maybe talks about like You've changed things forever, Batman. You know, who knows how many crazies are going to come out of the woodworks because of you. And he's talking about the oncoming rogues gallery that could have happened.
Oh, that's a massive thing. Even in Spider-Man, they're like, supervillains didn't exist before there was a superhero.
Shame. I thought I'd have more to talk on, but
we talked for an hour.
Yeah, but about the show and not just anything around it. I think
because it's a pilot, that's why.
Yeah, wonderfully acted, wonderfully performed, has me wondering... Just has me keen to see what comes next. I thought you briefly wanted to talk on... Was that IGN 5 out of 10?
That was a season review.
All 8 episodes?
Yep. They gave Penguin episode 1 an 8 out of 10. And they gave the whole season a 5 out of 10.
I think Rotten Tomatoes is currently sitting on 90%, but obviously it can go up and down depending on episodes, and they struggle to really separate season review to episode review and all that stuff.
94% tomato meter, 89% popcorn.
Which doesn't mean they've all given it 10 out of 10. Most could have just given it a nice comfy 6 or 7 out of 10. She-Hulk got 9 out of 10, for example.
Agatha all along got an 8, I think.
But it's different reviewers, different priorities, all that stuff. It's not just one conglomerate IGN has issued. Like, it's multiple people.
IMDb, it's an 8.9.
Overall, it's a really good show. We're keen to see what happens next. And there's not much to go on other than it's a really good start.
Let us know what you think. Did you like it, or are you IGN?
Do you wish we were turning out Agatha all along instead?
It's coming, don't worry.
Not with me, fuck's sake.